Hey, this is Nikki Sixx, and I'm sitting here in my 57 Chevy that's blown out with a JVC sound system and a video system. Just remember, this is what you gotta have in your life. JVC, rip it, burn it, and rock it.
If you know consumer electronics, you probably know the name JVC, but what does it mean? The Japanese Victor Company, or Victor Company of Japan, was started way back in 1927. Born as a company that manufactured phonographs, they also pressed the first record in Japan. As for their car audio roots, go back to about the mid-1980s, where they produced things such as head units, like this KS-R50 and R70 shaft-style head unit, with the built-in digital tuner, also some 4-inch, 6.5, and 6x9-inch two-way speakers, but they also had amplifiers such as this KS-A200, which was 100 by 100 on the amp, but is actually 50 watts by 2 RMS. And again, this was available in the mid-1980s. Fast forward to 2000, the Maximum Rock Tour, which included bands Motley Crue, Megadeth, and Anthrax. JVC had many advertisements in the magazine at the time, mainly starting with Megadeth, showing off their DOHC amplifiers, saying Mega Band, Mega Products, Mega Performance. So they were really pushing the hard rock theme with these amplifiers. After their agreement with Megadeth, move on to Motley Crue and Nikki Sixx. If you don't know Motley Crue, you don't know heavy metal bands from the 1980s. Check out The Dirt on Netflix. Just make sure it's not kid friendly, so make sure you're an adult watching that. Those guys are wild. But yeah, Nikki Sixx, their bassist, actually had a signature line of amplifiers come out around 2002. I'll also leave a link in the video description so you can read more about him. He really changed his life and is doing good things now. But back in 2002, they showed off his 1957 Chevy in this mobile entertainment magazine, and these 4 amplifiers, a JVC, DOHC, Nikki Sixx signature amplifiers. Well, guess what Big D got his hands on? Yeah, boy, that's right. We got us a DOHC Nikki Sixx signature amplifier here to show you guys today. Check it out here, the DOHC Dynamic Optimum High-Powered Circuit, aka Nikki Sixx Signature Series JVC amplifier that has an exhaust-looking manifold here with a 6-cylinder exhaust. The model is KS-AX6750. This amplifier uses Class AB topology and is a 2-channel stereo amp that's also bridgeable. As far as ratings go, stereo 4 ohms 150 by 2, 2 ohms not specified, max power 330 by 2, mono 8 ohms 300 watts, 4 ohms 300 watts, and max power 900 watts. Dimensions 13.9 inches for the length, 8.9 inches for the width, 2.6 inches for the height. Let's take a closer look at the amplifier and the connections. Here on this one side, we see dual RCAs and a high-level input. The real interesting thing is the RCAs have right on the left and left on the right.
Just look at it.
Yeah, well,
what the heck is that?
and this is nonsense.
More nonsense on the flip side, where we have the power and speaker terminals. Now, these are so weird on how they connect, and I'll show that in a minute, but we have two 25 amp fuses, and we have screw-down terminals for all of the connections. Now, in order to use this, you really need spade-type connectors, or the fork connectors, but it's really hard to put them in the amp. You really need to bend them or have right angle size to be able to use this, because otherwise I don't know how you'd mount the amp. So this is a horrible design. I'm not sure what was up with JVC's thoughts on this. Maybe they were still stressing over the Y2K problem. Here, let's take out the 2 slotted screws here on this acrylic panel, which is purple in color, which does give the amp kind of a purple glow when you turn it on. And we'll see some additional adjustments here, including the gain control. There is a 45 hertz bass boost, also a crossover for high pass, low pass, or off. You can adjust the crossover from 250 hertz down to 50 hertz, and the input level from 0.15 up to 3 volts. The amp has a fluorescent light tube, which with this acrylic panel gives it sort of a purple glow, which is hard to show here in the picture. Hopefully you get a good idea of what it looks like. But yeah, it's kind of cool. I mean, it's something different. Hey, what do you say? You got to do something a little different here so the people will dig it. Now let's get this amp wired up. We'll fire up the amplifier dyno so we can test the RMS power output. If you haven't seen these tests before, on the left you'll see the RMS power output in watts, In the middle, you'll see the ohm load. In the right, you'll see the voltage of the dyno. You'll also see the remote indicator for the current. 4 ohm stereo. It's rated 150 watts by 2. Certified test takes us up to 1% distortion, and yeah, 163 and 154, so we do get that rated power right at it, pretty much right at 14.4 volts as well. Uncertified to clipping, we get literally identical power, 163 and 153. Now dynamically, this amp does have some dynamic headroom built in. You can see here. Here's the test, 205 watts, so right about 200 watts per channel when we average that out. Efficiency 68% for a Class AB amp around the year 2002. That's about what we expect. 2 ohm stereo. They don't provide any rating, so let's just go off what we've got here. Certified test 1% THD, 236 and 218. Clap for them. We like that. Let's try the uncertified test, and unfortunately it's going to not be a whole lot different than the previous test. In fact, exactly the same. 236 and 218 at 14.14. Reset the dyno here for the dynamic RMS test. And check this out, over 300! 322 and 301 right at 14.42. How about that efficiency? Yep, it keeps dropping. 54% at 2 ohm stereo. Now let's set the amp for mono. What we have to do is use the left negative and right positive connections. That will bridge the amp. Let's try 8 ohms mono first. It's rated 300 watts. And yeah, we get 311 at 14.46 certified. These bridge tests are run at 40 hertz, if I didn't say that already. Let's try the uncertified test. We do get a little bit more power, 319, 14.44. Dynamic test sends a kick drum dynamic pulse into the amp. And here we go, 376. 14.69. Efficiency, 58%, 8 ohms bridge mono. Now let's try the 4 ohm bridge mono. This is probably what most people would have used this amp for back in the day. Rated 300 watts. Certified test first to 1% total harmonic distortion. 452, 14.18. So easily meets and exceeds its rated power, even being 20 years old, and probably needs to be recapped. Uncertified 460, 14.13. Let's try dynamic and see if it does have that dynamic headroom. And yes, check it out. Over 600 watts, 656, 14.37. The trade-off of a Class AB amp is low efficiency. 51% is what we measured. Here are all the results. You can pause this if you want to see. We've just showed you all these different tests. Overall, the amp did its rated power and more, 20 years plus in age. So very good. Now, let's wire this up to the Gately Audio acrylic box with the Lord of Bass 12-inch subwoofer. See if we can rock the hizzy. Are you ready for this? Let's thump. We have the JVC wired up to the Gately Audio Lord of Bass 12-inch sub in the acrylic box. We also have the SMD MM1, so you can see how much power is going to it. Let's try some Boom Tube Pink Panther. Next up, we'll take the meticulous task of opening up this amplifier. Hope you guys appreciate this. Let's see what's inside.
Got him!
As you can see, the circuit board is mounted upside down, so we're going to have to do some further disassembly to be able to get to the other part of the circuit board so we can see the components. At this point, it's pretty frustrating because it was so hard. This board was stuck. Obviously been mounted here for 20 plus years, and it looks like it was kind of stuck to the thermal pads, but I did finally get it pried up and had to unhook this one connector that goes to the front panel. And here is the board of the amp and everything else, which did take me a while to disassemble, but I'm sure you guys wanted to see the internals, as did I. So let's check it out. This typical Korean Class AB layout from the late 90s to early 2000s. We have different brand caps. Here we have 50 volt, 1000 microfarad Samhas. And then additionally, we have laid down Samyoungs. These are 50 volt, 2200 microfarad. We have some 25 volt, 2200 microfarad for the power supply side. Now I could not see the transistors for the output or for the power supply section because they had these heat shields on them. But I believe they're the standard IRC 44Ns for the power supply sections. You guys may know better than me what the outputs would be. Now let's talk about the pros and cons. Things I like, things that could be better, at least things to be aware of. The pros: rated power plus for a 20-year-old amp. Cool looks, yeah, I think so. Nikki Sixx signature makes it kind of neat. Rare uniqueness, yeah, I think for sure. Definitely don't see one of these every day, so I think it's pretty unique. Class AB for sound purists, yes, absolutely. Now JVC did recycle this same style amplifier from 2000 to about 2004. The connections are horrible, very difficult to connect up. Standard non-Tiffany RCAs. It is 20 years old, probably does need to be recapped. And the crossover is weak. We were getting vocals even though we had it turned all the way down. There you have my test and my review of this JVC Nikki Sixx signature 2-channel amplifier from 2002. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you smash me a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And also check me out on patreon.com/oldschoolstereo. And stick around till after the credits if you want to see some additional footage, because I always show that. Thanks as always for watching. Until next time, it's Big D, and I'm out of here. I know you guys want to know, because I want to know too, what is behind this fake exhaust manifold for the inline 6-cylinder dual overhead cam JVC amplifier. Let's take out these 4 Allen screws, and we did borrow Allen's key to do this. And get ready for it. Are you ready? What is it? Is it going to be a surprise? No, it's not. This fake plastic manifold looks a lot like an egg crate. What do you say we get some eggs out, see if we can fit them in there? Kind of fit, don't they?
This is not a Mickey Mouse program!
All right, so after I scrambled up some eggs, let's do the 2.67 dynamic test here at 40 hertz. And you can see 825 watts at 14 volts.
You know how them sound waves go?
Hustle hard, hustle every single day. I'll be making moves till I'm buried.